Hey everyone, in this video, I'm gonna share my journey of how I went from landing $700 projects all the way to projects worth a car. I'm gonna share actionable steps, some real life stories, and give you some advice on how I did that process. Whether you are a brand new developer or have never developed a site before, or you're pretty far in your journey but you feel like you're hitting a plateau, I believe there is advice in this video and tips and tricks that I use to help you grow and scale. Let's get into it. Now, part one of this video is starting small. Everyone begins somewhere. I started with $700 projects, and this was in about 2016. Me and a friend, we tried to land some website projects and we reached out to hundreds of businesses and it just did not work. For months, we tried it, it just was not working. Even when we said we would do it for free, people wouldn't let us build their website. A few months later, I went and tried this on my own, and I just tried a few different approaches, and I found an approach that worked really well for me, which at the time was running Google Ads as a specific unique keywords that I was going for, like Squarespace website designer, which within 48 hours, I landed my first project. And since then, I have never not had projects. But the important thing is not the size of the project when you're starting out. This is my first tip. What's important at the beginning is learning your systems of operating and the level of excellence you want to deliver. It is not a skill set determined by the years of experience, but how you show up in every aspect of the build that's important. Looking back, what I wish I did then that I didn't do was really hone in on every single step that I want to take a client through, and not just do the bare minimum, but do the maximum that makes the most sense in terms of how I like to be treated myself by a business. So let's talk about hotels, for example. Hotels are really comparable to a website development process. At the end of the day, you're gonna end up with a bed and a door and a bathroom. Those are the core aspects of a hotel room. Now, why are some hotel rooms in the same exact city, just blocks away from each other, completely vastly different in pricing? Well, it comes down to service and the elegance, the quality of the experience, and the materials that are used. Related to website design, it's exactly the same. The experience you give your client is really going to be an outstanding experience, a moderate experience, or just a mild experience. Yes, it's true. Someone can go on Fiverr today and find someone to develop a website for them for $50. 100% true. At the same time though, that doesn't mean that your experience, your customer satisfaction, how you onboard a customer, your customer service, every aspect of what you do in your process is just as important. So when it comes down to getting started, really emphasize what level of experience, not just deliverables, but experience do you want to give your client, and what level of quality of work do you want to go after. You might not be there yet, but that's okay. Getting started is just that. It's getting started. Part two. This is what I call gradual growth. The core aspect of gradual growth is increasing your pricing very consistently. What consistency means is that when you are increasing your experience, you increase your price, even to the same clients. So I remember when I was starting out, 6 months into it, a year into it, I'd have clients who come back to me for service or work. Maybe my hourly rate at one point was say like 40 or $50, but at that point it was 75. I would let them know, hey, my new hourly rate is 75. I'll meet you in the middle, but just know that it's 75 now. Now, how do you raise your prices? Well, you have to have work that shows the level of quality and deliverables that would equate to that price. So how do you do that? Let's say for a 5-page website, you charge $1,500, but you want to start charging $2,500. What I would do is I would probably consider what it would look like to offer that 5-page website, as well as a blog or maybe a store or some other features, or maybe a 10-page website for $1,500. Yes, is that client getting a deal? 100%. But what you're able to do is for the next client, when they come to you, you're able to say, this is what you're gonna get for 2,500 bucks. I remember when this happened to me, I had a client who was asking me for more and more and more and more. And I was like, man, they are really like pushing it. And at the time, I couldn't break the threshold of $2,000. But at that time, it was really hard for me. That $2,000 project was actually probably $3,500 worth of work at that time. But I took it on, I did everything the client wanted. I never complained to the client, because then for the next client, I could point back to that and say, that's what $3,500 worth of value looks like. That's one core way you could increase your price and your pricing strategy as you move forward. The more work you do, the better you get. The better you get, the higher your price. That cycle, you're gonna repeat over and over and over again. Now, part 3, scaling up. If you are a designer who's been doing this work for a while, you're kind of hitting a threshold of a few $1,000s, and you really want to break a new threshold, let's say double. Let's say you make $2,500 a website and you want to get to $5,000, or you make $5,000 and you want to get to $10,000. This part is called scaling up, because this is where you're really going to hone in on your skill set. And the way you hone in on your skill set is with repetition. Oh man, how I could talk about this for a long time. Repetition is the art of doing something over and over and over again, and in the nuance of doing it so many times, you get better at it. I don't know if you've heard of this study. There was a pottery class that was split in half, and they were both asked by the end of the semester to have a different goal. One half of the class was asked to make one perfect cup, and the other half of the class was asked to make as many cups as possible. What ended up happening is the half of the class that tried to make one perfect cup had okay, decent cups, compared to the other half of the class that tried to make as many cups as possible. Their cups were better, and they made more perfect cups. Why? Because in the nuance of doing it over and over and over and over again, they got really good at the meticulous detail of making cups. So when you are scaling up, the way I think about scaling up in terms of website design is, this is a little bit unfortunate, and I think everybody goes through this season. You need to say yes to everything. That means you're gonna get overworked and your capacity is gonna get pushed to the limit every single day. It's gonna feel annoying, it's gonna feel obnoxious, it's gonna feel like you wanna quit, but just say yes to everything. The next 3 months, the next 6 months, they're gonna go somewhere. Why not leverage it, make as much money as you can, but also develop your skill as much as you can. Your offering is only gonna get better by the number of projects that you execute. So speed it up. Instead of doing 10 projects a year, do 10 projects every 3 months. Push yourself to the limit. Find where you have any kind of delays, any kind of inefficiencies. You could make more money as a web developer by charging more, but you could also make more money by being quicker. So if you do the same amount of work this month as you did last month, but you do it in half the time, you just doubled your revenue per hour of input. Now, let's talk about number 4, landing the big ones. The way you're gonna land big projects is really when you get good at a few core things. The first one is any type of limiting belief, where you think you're not worth that much, or you think you need to do extra work for that much. The first time I did a 10K project, I probably had those limiting beliefs slowing me down in the process, where I'm like, I gotta impress the client. Like, I'm building the site, I gotta do this cool thing and that cool thing, and I gotta make it so cool. And it's like, I don't actually have to do that, because the value of a website is not determined by the customizations or the lines of code. It's determined by the value that the client will get from the website, and by making sure that you are solving the actual problem. Nobody cares about lines of code. Nobody opens up Instagram thinking, oh my gosh, there are just so many nice lines of code here, and this is why I use the app. Nobody cares about that. Nobody cares about code when it comes to your website. What's core and what's most important is that you can solve a problem that they have. And so one of the top ways to do this is by really understanding what the client needs are. They don't need a website, they need a business problem solved. And so you really want to explore that with the client and then communicate to that alone. You never want to communicate to the aspect of like the deliverables. You want to communicate to the core aspect of, we're going to make sure that you have the best sales page. We're going to make sure that you have the clearest consulting experience overview so that everyone who lands here knows exactly what you do, what you offer, and has a clear next step on how to take action. And this leads to an aspect that is really important. When you deliver a website, I tell this to anyone who I hire as well. I don't hire you just as a web developer or as a project manager. I hire you as a communicator as well. I hire you for both. They're both just as important to me. You cannot be good at one and be terrible at the other and do your job. You need to do both really well. So as someone who is servicing, as a vendor servicing clients, effective communication builds so much trust and leads to long-term relationships. And so you want to make sure that you're great at communication. Don't assume anyone understands anything. Like, that is the worst assumption. Just make sure you over communicate and clearly describe what you're doing and where you're at. All of that is just like taking everything to the next level. And the strategies that you have around communication, I would say, are just as important as your website build and your skill set. And number 5, you might love this, you might hate this. The key takeaway here is you do all these things and you do them over and over and over and over again. You go through this process of continually growing, becoming more efficient, gradually scaling up, doing everything you can. And the core aspect you want to confront every single day is the question, do you believe in yourself? Do you believe that you can offer a $30,000 project? Do you believe that you can offer a $10,000 project? Whatever the question is around your belief, you want to put pressure on that so you get better at it, so you grow and you develop. And at the end of the day, like, you end up making more money and you end up doing more good and you end up helping people better and you end up having more confidence in your delivery. Everything gets better as you go through this process. Now, my focus isn't really like, oh, how do I solve this with the web? We could solve anything with the web. With code, you could do anything. But it's really giving the client the right experience, exposure, scope, and getting them from where they are to a transformational process to where they want to go at the end of the project. If you're looking to learn more about which platform to start on, I have video content there. If you're looking for tutorials on Squarespace or Framer or even ConvertKit, now known as Kit, I have a ton of tutorials on this channel. I also have a bunch of downloadables like a designer starter kit that will help you grow as a designer in your skill set. How do you use a template to start every site? I got you. There's so many things in there, so definitely check out the resources down below. And if you have any questions, drop them down below. With that, have a great day, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.